What is the secret to Jimmy Kimmel's success? I'm going to talk about that right after this. Hey everyone, I'm Yoel and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So grateful to have you. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about what I feel are the key contributing factors to Jimmy Kimmel's success. Jimmy Kimmel, the famous late night talk show host, of course. Last checked on YouTube, he's got over 19 million subscribers, which I wouldn't say he would be the first to say that's a sign of his success, but certainly indicates his popularity and the fact that he's been a late night talk show host for so long, in addition to the other various jobs he's had beforehand. Now, I know what a lot of you may be thinking, because I know that his political views tend to be pretty polarizing. Now, first of all, I don't get into politics for the most part. I guess maybe from time to time, something does arise in the course of my videos. For example, I did a video on the Barbie Oscar snub of 2024. So that was maybe somewhat political, but for the most part, I don't really get into politics. And frankly, I've had this discussion a lot with friends and colleagues and family members. I think that, barring anything of the extreme nature, whatever somebody's political views may be, or whatever flaws somebody may have with these videos, I'm focusing on what contributes to somebody's success. It's not about whether or not somebody's perfect, or whether or not I agree with his politics, or I agree with everything he says. We can even disagree on many things. We can disagree on most things. I'm not saying if I do or I don't in this instance, but the point is that, what somebody's political views are, or what somebody has to say about certain issues, that does not pertain to what I'm sharing here. What I'm sharing here is what I feel are the keys and the secrets to his success. Okay, so I wanted to get that out of the way. The other thing I wanted to mention is that this is becoming somewhat of a series, as I've done videos on other personalities. I've done on Adam Sandler, on Joe Rogan, and most recently, at least as of this recording, on Larry David. Okay, there's another person who many people may disagree politically, and that's totally fine. It's okay to disagree. So I'm really focusing on the successful aspect of the people that I'm profiling. And what I wanted to be clear about is that it is very possible, if not likely, that some of the factors that I may point out in others may overlap in this video as well. Okay, because what I'm starting to see as I share videos about keys to success, which I'm really enjoying doing, is that, yeah, there is a lot of overlap, because a lot of times there are certain characteristics that are equal to successful people. And that what that's telling me is that, if these are characteristics that successful people have in common, then maybe that's something that we should all try and cultivate in ourselves. Okay, so I'm really appreciating doing these videos. They're not only enjoyable for me, but I also think that they can help one, including myself, really hone in on what it is that contributes to success, that we can, so that we can foster that in our own lives, cultivate those characteristics in our own lives. And again, that's not saying you have to be like that person. You should be yourself and be proud of who you are and maximize the skills that have been given to you. And different people will have different skills, but ultimately there are some sort of, baseline characteristics, I think, that overlap among successful people. So I'm grateful that I can do the videos like this and this series. I think I'm going to make this into a playlist so that we can really hone in on those types of characteristics. So without further ado, that was a long introduction. Without further or more ado, here are some keys to success that I think have contributed to Jimmy Kimmel's success. And by the way, I should mention, here's what, adding to the introduction, I'm also excited to do this because I'm a huge fan of his show. Okay, every day while I make my breakfast, I put on YouTube I guess it's the previous night's show, the opening monologue, and it just gets me in such a great frame of mind. I'm laughing, it's hilarious. I just think he's a master at what he does and a master at comedy. Okay, so now I'm ready to start. So the key factors contributing to Jimmy Kimmel's success. So and this is in no particular order. Number one I have jotted down here is that he really gives off that image of the everyday man. Now, I know at this point in his life, I think he's making some $15 million a year or something like that, which, by the way, when you're abundant thinking, you don't resent what somebody earns. In fact, you're happy for that person. You're happy to see that somebody who's successful is getting paid commensurate with what he's putting out there. Okay, so the fact that he makes a lot of money, I know a lot of you also, if you find yourself thinking to yourself, oh, he makes tons of money, good for him, and you're cynical about it, then again, respectfully speaking, you may want to start really working on your attitude towards money and your abundant mentality, because that sort of lends itself to thinking that just because somebody makes money, there isn't enough for you. No, there's enough money for everybody out there. And that's abundance is a whole different discussion. I don't claim to be a guru in it, but I can certainly say that if the fact that somebody's earning a lot of money for what he or she does gets you upset, then that is something to examine within yourself. But in any case, I mention that only because I'm saying that he's an everyday man, and not every man makes $15 million a year. But the way he presents himself and the way he speaks in kind of like a sort of humble way, okay? Again, getting away from the political side of the opinions that he expresses, but in day-to-day conversation, when he's giving a monologue, for example, he really comes across as that everyday man. So for example, just today I was watching his opening monologue on his show, and he talks about going to get a pizza for his son. And he talks about driving and driving through the water because there was major flooding going on because of all the rainfall, and the water was soaking him in his shoes up to his socks. And he went into the pizza shop and he brought it home. He tells the story. You have to remember, this is a major celebrity who's up there with all the A-listers. I'm sure he counts many of them amongst his friends. And he's out there describing his day out with his son going to get a slice of pizza. Okay. Now, of course, he's a human being. Of course, it's not, that doesn't make him a hero. That's not my point. That's just it. It's not that he's a hero. He's just being the everyday person. And when he tells stories like this and anecdotes, he told another one the other day about fixing a toilet and, some issues in his house. He really gives off that impression that he really is that everyday man. And of course, I'm sure he hasn't forgotten his roots coming from humble beginnings, growing up in Las Vegas, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is that even today, wherever he's at now, the way he presents himself really gives off that kind of relatability, I guess is the way I want to put it. Speaking of, I keep going back to politics, but a lot of times, why do political candidates not succeed, even though arguably some of them may be the best qualified for what they're running for? Because a lot of times they don't have that likability factor, okay, that relatability. And in Jimmy Kimmel's case, he definitely has that energy of relatability and that everyday man energy. And I think that's one of the major reasons he's been able to resonate with audiences and be as successful as he is. So that's number one, his everyday man relatability. Number two, I jotted down here, is that he has an amazing ability to roll with wherever the conversation takes him. Now, of course, this is something that has to be common towards many late night talk show hosts. Although I would say, from looking at some of the other ones, I'm not going to name names, I do not believe any of them do it as well as Jimmy Kimmel. And some of them, frankly, I find are not very good at all. It actually surprises me that they're in that talk show host role. And obviously, it's just my opinion. Clearly, if they've been doing it for any length of years and they have a successful following, then there must be something to it. But in terms of what I've seen, I have not seen anybody who's able to roll with the punches, so to speak, and to kind of go along with wherever the celebrity or wherever the person that he's interviewing takes him in conversation. Kimmel's able to really go there. I actually saw that in a documentary on Netflix recently. I don't remember what it was. It was about this guy who gained popularity. He was like a surfer dude. He had witnessed an attack, and he came to the rescue, and he became this national hero, and he was featured on Kimmel. And one of the Kimmel producers, or somebody who had worked on Kimmel, was saying how Kimmel has an amazing ability to be able to go with wherever the guest is going to take him. And it's obviously often, surely there is a script, in the sense that a lot of times they interview, or maybe always they interview the guests before they appear on the show. So Kimmel has notes to work with, but a lot of times they go off that script. And he was just saying how Kimmel has an amazing ability to roll with that. And you really see that in the conversations. He really makes a guest feel at ease. It doesn't matter if a guest is more introverted in terms of his willingness to open up on the discussion, or more extroverted and taking Kimmel all over the place, whatever the case may be. Kimmel has an amazing ability to do it, and he does it using jokes, which is a really effective tool, because it really has the effect of disarming the guests, the audience, everybody around him. So he's able to kind of, if a conversation is maybe going somewhere where he didn't intend on it ongoing, or it's getting out of hand, he reins it in, and he does it with the tool of humor. And he does it so beautifully. So I think that that's one of the keys to Kimmel's success as well, which is his ability to take a conversation and roll with it wherever it takes him. His flexibility, I guess I would say, that's the best way I could put it. He's extremely flexible in what he does. Now, the third thing that I jotted down here is that Kimmel has a keen ability to hone in on what's funny. He knows what resonates with audiences. Now, again, this may sound obvious. Yeah, he's a talk show host. He's a late night talk show host. That's what he does. He's a comedian for sure. But let's use an example, the famous or the infamous Kimmel-Damon feud that's been going on for years and years. Although I haven't seen any bits on it in a while, although Kimmel doesn't waste an opportunity to take a Damon dig when he can. But the Matt Damon feud, which started, in case you're not aware, you should go onto YouTube to see it. It's hilarious. It started when Kimmel, in the very beginning, he was ending off one of his shows, and he goes, "My apologies to Matt Damon. We ran out of time," and he just pulled Damon out of a hat. And by the way, even that, something subconsciously must have told him that Damon would be the right person, because Matt Damon, to his credit, has completely taken to it and been alongside the ride for the gags, and he's been absolutely amazing, and the two of them have just been hilarious together. Okay, but Kimmel, if you ask him why he chose Matt Damon, he'll say he has no idea. Okay, but once it happened and Kimmel realized he got a massive response from it, he just has been running with that for years and years and years. And one would think that somebody would be scared that a joke will become stale, or I'm going to be typecast as the guy who could only joke about Damon. Whatever kind of fear, anxiety you may think of, somebody else may have taken that road. But Kimmel rolled with it because he just saw how much it was resonating with his audiences. And over again, in all sorts of different skits and gags and pranks and practical jokes, each one of them is hilarious. Okay. Now, of course, Kimmel's writers get credit for a lot of the hilarity that ensues as well. And I'm sure Kimmel would be the first to tell you that. But ultimately, Kimmel is the boss. So Kimmel's going to be the front person for all this. And the fact is, he's calling the ultimate shots at that show. And he has this ability to hone in on things that are funny. Another example that comes to mind is casting, if you will, Guillermo Rodriguez, okay, the security guard turned celebrity turned interviewer at all sorts of different events. Hilarious. Again, Kimmel has to have that ability to hone in and realize this guy is going to be funny. Or if somebody isn't funny in and of himself or herself, Kimmel has this way of turning somebody into being funny, okay? And that's another one. I didn't write that as a separate part of the list, but I think that's part of it as well, is that it kind of ties in with the flexibility and adaptability too I was talking about before, that Kimmel has an ability to create something or somebody that is absolutely hilarious, even if he's not intending to be or shouldn't be to the average person. But it all, I feel, falls under the same guise, that he just has this amazing knack for understanding what's funny and what audiences will find to be funny. And I think that's one of the real keys to his success as well. Also on my list here, and this is more kind of generic, but it's famous now how Jimmy Kimmel is an avid David Letterman follower. I don't think he would miss a single late night show of David Letterman. And he's been aspiring to be Letterman, if you will, or Letterman's heir apparent, or however you want to put it, ever since. And that's always been his focus. And I think that Kimmel has had that passion, and he recognized that passion from a very early age, and he stayed singularly focused on that passion, and he made it happen. So I think that the fact that Kimmel actually followed his passion, and obviously, again, you can, as I said in the introduction, you can say this about a lot of people, but I think that is something that contributes to anybody who's successful. The fact that they follow that passion, they understand what it is they're good at, and what it is that they enjoy, and what it is that they can really build in themselves into a career and into a job, and really turn it from being just something that you have a passing interest in to something you have a passing interest in into something that you actually do for a living. Kimmel has always had that passion and drive to be in show business, to be in entertainment. He worked as a DJ for many years. He worked at all sorts of radio stations, and then graduating to getting his own show, and then the Man Show, and then finally becoming a late night talk show host. So it's kind of been a trajectory that was somewhat predictable based on Jimmy Kimmel's character and what his passions always have been. And he's really living that out. And it's really a wonderful thing to see. It's a wonderful thing to see. So I think the fact that Kimmel followed his passions all the way through, he stayed dedicated and loyal to what his passions are, really shows, is really one of the keys to his success, which is really following those passions, recognizing what it is you enjoy and really going after it. And finally, what I have listed down here is another one that could apply to a lot of successful people, but I notice it in Kimmel as well, is that he's had to face a fair bit of adversity in his career. So he talks a lot about getting fired multiple times from all sorts of different radio stations. This, of course, was also in common with Howard Stern, who I believe will be my next video in the keys to his success. So stay tuned for that. But in the case of Kimmel, he as well has gone through a lot of adversity. He's been fired, as I mentioned. Also, he's had all sorts of criticism. I'm not sure, I meant to look this up before the video, but I believe his first year or years was a bit tenuous. I don't know if many people thought that he would succeed past a year or two, and he's proven them to be wrong. So he's had his fair share of adversity. Also with, again, as I mentioned, his political views, he's willing to put himself out there, and that definitely gets him his share of criticism. Some will say rightly earned, but whatever the case may be, he's faced a lot of adversity in his career, and in his really funny way, he kind of poo-poos it. He kind of is able to, again, roll with it, turn it into jokes and gags, and is able to succeed where many others in the face of failure may have just wrapped it up. So for example, I'm sure there's many out there who unfortunately never became the famous late night talk show host that Kimmel did, but maybe could have been, but maybe they had a setback working as a DJ, working at a radio station, got fired and said, all right, to hell with this, I'm just going to become a lawyer or something, whatever the case may be. But Kimmel stayed with it. He didn't give up after being fired. And he talks a lot about this in various interviews that I've seen and I've read. And he was able to turn that adversity into success, ultimately getting to the top of the ladder, so to speak, being the late night talk show host. Okay, so just to summarize again, what I feel are key factors in Jimmy Kimmel's success. Number one is that he really has that everyday man persona and image that really is relatable to his audiences. Number two, he's able to take conversations where they go and he's able to roll with it. He's extremely flexible and adaptable. Number three is that he has an amazing ability to hone in on what's funny. If he'd be watching this video, I'm sure he could find by now maybe 100 things in this video that are funny. Maybe many other people could too. But Kimmel would be the first to find what's hilarious in this video and many other videos. And I think that right now that's actually part of his monologue, is featuring hilarious opening videos. So he has an amazing ability to hone in on the funny. Number four that I jotted down is that he's had a passion for what he does now from very early on, and he's followed that through. And number five, kind of related to that, is he's followed through in that passion and he hasn't let adversity get in his way. He's been able to pick himself up after each failure and to take that failure and to turn it into success. So let me know what you think. As always, I would love to see your comments. If you have other insights why you think Jimmy Kimmel is as successful as he is, let me know if you disagree with anything or everything that I've said. And as always, I'm grateful that you came to my channel and watched this video. Please don't forget to like it, and I'd be grateful if you subscribe to the channel as well. And I look forward to seeing you at the next video. Hey guys, this is your annoying reminder to please hit that subscribe button. You'll be helping me out, and you'll also get notified of the next cool video. And check out the other videos on my channel. There's some great stuff over there, all sorts of topics. Take care.